Welcome into the On3 studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. It is Sunday, June 2nd. Welcome to June. We got a loaded show today. I'm excited to be here, talk recruiting once again with you guys on the Inside Scoop. We had fun last week on the rooftop of the W Hotel, but it's great to be back in the friendly confines of the On3 studio. But before we get going, make sure you guys are subscribed to the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. Go ahead, smash that subscribe button for me. All right. Thank you guys for being here. We got a big show. We're going to talk Alabama recruiting. We're talking Texas recruiting. We're talking Ohio State recruiting. But first, and I did not expect to start here, especially with all the big visit weekends happening all around the country, but we got to start the show talking quarterbacks for the 2026 class because there was two major commitments that went down on Saturday. First, it was Noah Grubbs from Lake Mary, Florida, the number 9 quarterback in the country. He committed to Notre Dame. And a couple hours later, Will Griffin, 6'2.5", 200 pounds from Tampa Jesuit High School, the number 8 quarterback in America, off the board, commits to the Florida Gators. So now we got 30% of the top 10 in the 2026 class committed. Here, let's take a look at the top 10 quarterbacks for 2026. There you see it. Jared Curtis, he's the number 1 quarterback, and he is committed to Georgia. We're going to talk Dia Bell. You see him sitting there at number 4. He comes off the board in about 4 or 5 weeks. Then you see Will Griffin, Noah Grubbs. They are committed. So, like I said, 3 of the top 10 now committed. I'm going to have to break out the whiteboard later this week, map out the quarterback dominoes. That should be fun. All right, before we talk visits, let's play a little game. It's an easy game. And for this, I want to bring on Philip Dukes of the 5-Star Flex. Welcome, Philip. And here's how this little game goes. I'm going to throw out a name along with the school that the recruit is committed to. Then we say whether we think he's going to stick with the team that he's committed to, or flip to another team. Now, you don't have to say the team that you think he's going to flip to, but if you want an extra bonus point, you can. All right. Let's start it out. So here we go. We'll start out with an easy one. Bryce Underwood. He was here in Nashville. We both talked to him. I'll go first. Bryce Underwood committed to LSU. That's an easy stick for me. What do you got?
1,000% stick. If I don't think I've ever spoken to anybody more committed than Bryce Underwood is to LSU.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, now these are progressively going to get a little harder. Naeem Offord, number 1 cornerback in America. He's committed to Ohio State. We were just here with him in Nashville as well. Stick for me.
I'm going to go stick as of today. I would really like to play this game again after he goes on his official visits. But as of today, okay, I'll go with stick.
Yeah, and we're playing it as of today. You know, hey, we just started summer recruiting. You and I both know these official visits are going to change things, but we can play this every week. I don't know. Maybe we will. Yeah. All right. Next name on the board. You know, this one's an easy one too. Defensive lineman Justice Terry committed to USC. I'll go first. I go flip. I mean, we know he committed to USC a couple months ago now, but he's going to take these visits, and I'm watching Georgia. If I had to give you a team there for the flip, I'm watching Georgia. Justice Terry, what do you think? Committed to USC, flip or stick or flip?
I'd say flip. I just think it's a long way for him to go and to make it over all of these SEC teams that are pretty much fawning over him. I think Georgia really is someone who I would watch, who he was previously committed to. But it's a couple of schools that I think are going to pop up that you're going to say, oh, wow. So at this moment for Justice Terry, I would say flip.
Okay. Next prospect, wide receiver, Dallas Wilson. Now, he's committed to Oregon and has been for about 13 months. But here's the thing. He's from the Tampa Bay area. So we're talking 3,000 miles away. And we've seen it happen. We've seen Florida kids go out to Oregon and succeed and play out there. Dallas Wilson, stick or flip. I'll go first with Dallas Wilson. This is a heartbreaker, but I got to go flip to one of the in-state schools. Probably right now, if I had to pick one, probably Miami.
Yeah, the way the wide receiver dominoes are falling, you're going to see teams miss on guys who they think they have a really good shot with, and then you're going to see some of these top schools literally throw the house at this guy, and I think that he ends up flipping in the long run. But that's not to say I don't think that Oregon's going to have a great wide receiver class.
Yep, that's right. All right, so we got a double flip for Wilson. All right, the next up, edge Javian Hilson, top 5 edge in America. Back in January, he flipped his commitment from Alabama to Florida State in the wake of the Nick Saban retirement. Now He's been talking with Alabama, and now he sets an official visit to Texas. Javian Hilson, FSU, sticker flip. I'm going flip here. I don't know where to, but I'm going Javian Hilson flip. How about you? Sticker flip.
I think he sticks based on the fact of how important he is to that class, how good of a player he is, and I think that Florida State. I don't think when you look at his official visits, I think quiet is kept. I think UCF has done a really good job recruiting him. I just don't think that they're going to have enough. And you still got the Alabamas of the world. You still got other Texases of the world. But I just really think that Florida State is going to do everything it takes to keep Hilson at home.
All right. So that's a stick for you, huh?
Yep, that's a stick.
All right. Now let's go to another edge, number one edge in America, Isaiah Gibson, committed to USC. I'll start here. Stick or flip? Isaiah Gibson. I mean, hey, USC fans already hate me, so I'm going flip. And I got Georgia. I know he's on that official visit to Georgia right now as we tape this. He's going to take 6 total official visits this summer. One of them will be out to USC, but he's taking 5 others. I think the writing's on the wall. I'm sorry, USC fans, but I'm going flip here. Stick or flip for you, Dukes?
Yeah, I think it's another flip for me, just based on the fact, like I said earlier. Now, not to say that defensive lineman from Georgia won't go to Southern Cal, as Cameron Fountain, who is a highly rated recruit out of Washington High School, he stuck with his commitment last year. But I just think that the amount of options are a little bit different for these two guys, including Terry. And so I just think it's going to be hard to keep them out of the Southeast when it comes to recruiting them or getting their signature. So I think he flips.
All right, we got another quarterback here. This time it's Deuce Knight, top 10 quarterback, committed to Notre Dame. Now he's in the state of Mississippi. We know Alabama's been recruiting him a little bit. We know Ole Miss. We know Mississippi State. There's some teams knocking his door, but he hasn't taken any other visits yet. So stick or flip, Deuce Knight. I'm going stick, but you're really the Deuce Knight expert. So this is for you. You've had him on the 5-star flex twice now. So Deuce Knight, stick or flip, Notre Dame.
I'm going with stick. When I talk to him, we've had multiple conversations off the record, on the record. Deuce Knight, really great kid, but I just think that Notre Dame provides so much that he likes off the field that I think, does he take a visit? Possibly. I know that's pretty much taboo when it comes to a quarterback committed to Notre Dame, but I think he's the type of guy that if he has that type of issue, I can see Notre Dame saying, all right, well, since you took a visit, we're dropping you. I think that he may take a visit just to kind of poke around and make sure he's making the right decision. But I think it's one of those visits for confirmation, not for kind of looking for something. I think he just wants to make sure that he's made the right decision. So I'm going to go with stick.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Right now, I mean, I just feel like the Deuce Knight drama that we thought we might see this summer looks like it might just fizzle out, and he's going to remain solid in Notre Dame. At least that's where it feels like heading into the summer. So I'm with you. Stick on that one. All right. Move on to one of the biggest, most athletic defensive linemen in the state of Florida, Jalen Wiggins. He's from Tallahassee Rickards High School, and he committed to UF. Now we're going to play sticker flip here. I got a big flip for Jalen Wiggins, and the team I'm watching is his hometown team, Florida State. He's been there a bunch. He's going to continue visiting. I don't know if this is one that we see flip during the summer. Maybe he is going to take an official visit to Florida State, but I eventually think that Jalen Wiggins flips from UF. What do you think? Stick or flip for Jalen Wiggins?
As of right now, I'm going to go stick with Florida, and it's for the same reason that I like Hilson to Florida State. Florida right now, he's one of those guys that you can't afford to lose. With their class, they're trying to get the recruiting momentum in their class. And I just think that they have some things to offer. And depending on how the season goes, I think, he'll stick. And that's one I would love to come back to. But as of today, I think he sticks.
All right, let's move on to a big name here. Quarterback Keelan Russell, SMU. I mean, SMU holding on for dear life here. Stick or flip? I'm going Keelan Russell flip. And the team that I'm going with is Alabama. How about you? Stick or flip Keelan Russell?
I'm going to go flip. I was thinking more, and it's funny that you said that because I was thinking more Texas, but we'll see how that goes. But definitely he's a big quarterback domino, and as we continue to play, you'll see what I think about it. But, yeah, right now I'm going to go flip.
Yeah, hey, maybe I got recency bias. He was on campus in Tuscaloosa visiting Alabama this weekend. I'm going with the momentum there with Alabama, but either way, SMU, I don't think they can hold on.
That's going to be rough.
All right. Next up, speaking about not being able to hold on, running back Alvin Henderson. He's from the state of Alabama, and he recently committed to Penn State. Stick or flip here. I'm going flip, and I think Auburn is the team that I'm watching. Duke, stick or flip for Alvin Henderson and Penn State.
Verbatim, same thing. Auburn is a team that I think he ends up signing with, and I'm gonna go flip. He's also
Yeah.
a guy I've had on twice on the 5-star flex. Uh, he definitely told me what he was going to do before he committed to Penn State. We haven't had that conversation again yet, but I think the next time we had that conversation, it'll probably be Auburn.
Hmm. All right, the next name on this, I think right before his decision, did you guys have TJ Alford on the 5-star flex as well?
Yep, Michael Jackson. That's what I call him. Yep.
All right. All right. So Tarvos TJ Alford. Here we are at the start of summer. Right now, stick or flip. I'm going stick with Ohio State, but we all know Miami in the end is going to be a threat. But for now, kind of like what you said, Dukes, beginning of summer, where things stand. Actually, he was on his official visit to Ohio State this weekend. I'm going stick for TJ Alford. How about you? Stick or flip?
I'm gonna go flip. I think it's gonna be tough to keep him out of the Sunshine State. He's got friends all over. Tony Williams, Wade and Charles, both of the two guys that he's been close with. I think just the lure of staying in the Sunshine State, whether it be Miami, whether it be UCF, whether it be Florida State, I just think it's going to be too hard. He's a really Florida kid. When I think about Florida guys, he's one that kind of really just embodies what I think when I think of a Florida guy. And I just think he's a guy who's going to end up staying in the Sunshine State.
All right. I like it. We don't agree on that one. All right. Next up, this one's a little controversial. Quarterback KJ Lacey, who's committed to Texas, and all signs say he's solid, but you and I both know these QB dominoes can shift really fast. So stick or flip, KJ Lacey. I'm going stick to Texas. How about you?
I'm going flip. And the team I'm going to look at is Alabama. And reason being, I think Texas ends up where this is all prediction based, and I could be wrong. It's 2 left shoes and a $3 bill. But what I will say is that I don't think Texas allows Keelan Russell to get out, and if they out of the state, and I do think that if that does happen, I think Alabama, with his relationship with Ryan Williams, the 5-star all-world wide receiver last year, they played together at Maryland for multiple years. I think that plays a big part in him flipping to the Tide. So if I think right now as of today, I'm gonna take KJ Lacey to flip.
Yeah, and I'd watch both those teams in the state of Alabama, to be honest with you, Auburn and Alabama, but I got them sticking for now. So we'll see on that one. Now, the next name, we're going to end on a doozy here. 5-star quarterback, Julian Lewis, committed to USC. Man, USC fans been all over me. So let's go stick or flip. Julian Lewis, I'm going stick. Look, I talked to Julian Lewis. We sat down, and there are things in LA that other cities just, hey, they can't provide. And when I spoke to him, he really seems locked in. I know he's going to take all these visits, but I did ask him at some point, are you going to shut this down and recruit to the team that you are locked into? He said, yes, that's going to happen in either July or August. He's going to shut it all down. No more visits. So right now, USC has a gauntlet that they got to run through with all these official visits that Juju's about to take, but I'm going stick. So now I'll throw it to you for Julian Lewis, USC, stick or flip.
I thought you were gonna say flip, so I could have just came through with the hammer like, no, he's gonna stick. But you kind of stole my thunder, and yeah, I think he's gonna stick as well for those same reasons, and also just because when you think about a commitment, he committed earlier and very, very early in the process, and I think that was based on his relationship with Lincoln Riley. And when I talk about the relationship that he has with other coaches and who's calling and when does he talk to him, I think that's his best relationship overall as a head coach. I think his best overall relationship is at Indiana with Tino Sanseri. But outside of that, I just think I think it's just going to be too hard. He's a ready-made product for Southern Cal. I think Colorado and Auburn are going to give them everything they want, though.
Yeah. Hey, we'll play this game in a couple weeks when official visits start to wrap up, but I appreciate you humoring me and sitting down on the hot seat. I'm sweating over here playing stick or flip. Now, let's go to the real recruiting experts. You know, the ones in the comments section. Do you guys agree with our picks or disagree? Let us know who's flipping, who's sticking. Comment section below. All right, let's head to Tuscaloosa, where the Tide got summer started with a big visit weekend. One major recruitment that we're watching is quarterback Keelan Russell. Could a flip be in the works? He was in Tuscaloosa for an official visit. We'll cover that in this video. Also, Five-star offensive lineman Ty Haywood was on campus. We got Bama Online publisher Tim Watts on this show. But first, Bama fans, make sure you guys hit subscribe to the greatest recruiting channel on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. All right, let's bring on Tim Watts from Bama Online to talk some Alabama recruiting. Now, Tim, before we get to Keelan Russell, a couple big names on campus, including Ty Haywood. Denton, Texas, the number 2 offensive tackle in the country. Now, you and I had talked a couple weeks ago. We weren't sure whether Ty Haywood would follow through with this trip or even make an official visit to Alabama, but it seems like they're in the thick of it. What are you hearing after this trip?
Yeah, well, Haywood is pretty interesting. Being from Mississippi, having been born there, grew up an Alabama fan, the biggest thing was were they going to be able to get him on campus? They got him on campus, obviously a big-time recruit, 5-star offensive tackle, and apparently it went really, really well. Alabama's one of his leaders now. Still has like 3 official visits to go, but I think the key for Bama was just getting him on campus, giving him that first impression, which they did. And Kalen DeBoer and his staff, they've been really good with their visits, unofficials and officials, and this one went really well also.
All right, now he has officials in June to Oklahoma and FSU. Alabama right there, like I said, in the thick of it. We'll see what happens come July. Jordan Davison, Mater Dei High School out in California. We know that Alabama recruits the West Coast really well. Do you feel that Jordan Davison could be part of that Mater Dei to Alabama pipeline?
I think they're in it. They've been in the top 3 or 4 the whole time. He's came for an unofficial visit. That's not a short trip. I mean, if you're coming for an unofficial, you're kind of sizing up whether you want to come back for an official. He did. Really good relationship with Robert Gillespie, and that's one thing that Coach G, as the kids call him, does. He really connects with the running back recruits. He recruits good overall, but with the running back recruits, his position, he does a really good job of connecting, and that's one of the main things keeping Alabama in it for Jordan. Still think there's some recruiting left to go. I don't think most of those Mater Dei kids or most of the big-name kids in California rush to a decision, but Alabama's definitely in the mix.
All right, now let's get to Keelan Russell, the 4-star quarterback who's committed to SMU. Now, Alabama offered about 5 weeks ago. Oregon has come in and offered recently. We know UF is trying to flip him. Ole Miss. And he was recently here in Nashville for the On3 Elite Series. Got to talk to him, and it really sounds like Alabama stood out to him. How important was this visit this weekend for Keelan Russell?
I think it was huge, and things have really picked up. Alabama sort of had a get-to-know phase. They arrived in Tuscaloosa, the new staff. Almost all the quarterbacks in the nation were committed, so they were really, catching the backside, having to work on kids and, where do they want to put the most effort into? Well, the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, Coach Sheridan, went down and saw him throw live in Texas. Alabama extended an offer, and it's really picked up well, gotten a lot more heated for Alabama and Russell. And this visit, I don't think it could have went any better. The early reviews, and it wasn't just reviews we were getting on Sunday after he left. We were hearing about this during the weekend, how well it went, what a good connection he's got there. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer is going to be heavily involved in selling this program on the offensive side, but definitely went really well. And, I think right now Alabama, I know he's committed to SMU, but I think that Alabama's probably the leader right now, probably in the driver's seat for him.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's going to take some more official visits. He just came off of SMU official visit straight to Tuscaloosa this weekend. Now, we talked in the months of after Kalen DeBoer took over, and we were kind of trying to figure out who the priority quarterback targets would be. We know they kicked the tires on Deuce Knight. They had him on the phone with Michael Penix in January and February. But that seems like it kind of wore off a little bit. We also know that Juju Lewis came in for an unofficial visit, but doesn't have an official visit scheduled. So would you say right now Keelan Russell is at the top of Bama's recruiting board when it comes to the quarterback position?
I think when we were trying to figure it out, I think Alabama was trying to figure out their quarterback board. I mean, they hadn't seen these guys live, and that was a big part of it. And again, Nick Sheridan got out, saw several of the guys they were looking at the hardest. Got good looks at him on campus, and that was important to see him live and throw live. And yeah, Deuce kind of went a little bit quiet. I think that was hotter at the beginning of the year. But Russell's the guy we've heard the most talk about, that seems the most serious. I think he's a kid that could give Alabama a commitment, and they would shut it down for this class as far as quarterbacks go.
All right. So, yeah, he said he's going to take this round of official visits and basically said, at some point I need to shut it down. So with Bama official visit in the books, are they the leader in the clubhouse, you think?
Yeah, I think so. After this visit, I mean, we've talked to several sources. It went great. His dad was on the trip. He had people close to him with it. He really had a good relationship heading into the visit. Once you get on that official visit, and it was a rather big weekend. They had double-digit visitors, but he got a lot of one-on-one time. It was a slower pace than you would get official visit during the season. All the boxes he needed checked were checked, we are told. So Alabama's definitely put their best foot forward, and I think they're in the driver's seat right now.
Yeah, Tim, you said it. There was double-digit visitors in Tuscaloosa this week, and so go to Bama Online. You guys do a great job of covering all the visitors thoroughly. We only hit on a couple here. We'll wrap it up. Do you feel that Alabama ends up signing any of the uncommitted visitors from this first big official visit weekend?
Yeah, you either want to be, I think, first or last when it comes to your official visitors. So Alabama went, into some of their top targets. Yeah, I would say they have a good chance. I think Haywood's a kid they got a chance with now. Jordan Davidson, they've got guys. They had a few commitments, but the majority of guys were not committed guys like Russell. And yeah, I think that you'll see this pay off. I don't know if it's going to be immediately because most of these guys have visits lined up, but also you got to think Alabama pushed them a little trying to get a commitment and get those visits canceled. So there's some jockeying going on. You know how the recruiting game is. So Alabama wanted to be first, and they were with some of their top targets.
Yeah, Bama fans, talk to me. Let me know. Comment section below. Big visit weekend. Who do you guys think ultimately end up signing with the Tide? Let me know. Comment section below. Time to talk some Texas recruiting. A few major developments we got to cover today. It wasn't a big official visit weekend out in Austin. They're going to have one of those coming up later in June, but there were some things I want to talk about. We got Texas recruiting insider Justin Wells on. But first, Texas fans, jump on board, hit subscribe to the best recruiting channel on YouTube. I appreciate it. All right, let's bring on Justin Wells from Inside Texas. And Justin, we're sitting here, big visit weekend all over the country, but you and I, we're starting the segment off because we got to talk 2026 quarterbacks. They are dropping like flies. 2 in the top 10 committed this week. 1 to Notre Dame, 1 to Florida, and QB Diabell, the number 4 ranked quarterback in the class, was on campus in Austin. He camped for a day. He visited, and we know Texas only offered like 4 or 5 quarterbacks, and he's one of them in that 26 class. What are you hearing after this visit?
Yeah, Dia took a pretty unorthodox trip to Austin this weekend. Do you want to know how much he really wanted to camp at Texas? He got stuck, and you would understand this from being at the On3 Elite Series in Nashville. He got stuck in a delay in Dallas, and his flights kept getting delayed. They took an Uber from Dallas to Austin at midnight.
Damn.
Just to get to that camp, because Dia told me he was worried he was going to miss the opportunity to compete in front of Coach Sark and Coach Milwee. And to me, that was really telling. Dia absolutely loved it. If you talk to the players, that's the name they mentioned the most. Who stood out the most? Diabell. And for good reason. Sark has had his eyes on this guy for a while. The Fort Lauderdale kid he's just a really good athlete with a really smooth delivery. He competed. He played well. He talked a lot to Sark and Milwee just about off the field, about life in general. It really wasn't as much about football this trip. It was more with the family and about life in general. And so when you start hearing that, it sounds like Sark and those guys have kind of zeroed in on their guy. And that's to say, there's a handful of quarterbacks in this class they really like. And there was another one on campus this weekend as well in Troy Hume. But Diabell just really, really flashed. And he was really excited. He actually didn't leave Austin until Sunday morning. They wound up staying the night. His dad and that family had a great time. And so you said it. The quarterback dominoes are starting to kind of fall. And Dia told me, I don't have as much time as I think I do. Like I've got to make a decision, and I don't get the sense he's rushing anything, but I think Texas is maybe this school. I think this might be the spot. He also mentioned going to see Ohio State. He's going to go see LSU, and he's going to go see Florida State. But I get the sense he wants to have a decision this summer. A lot of the big name quarterbacks usually jump in the boat by the beginning of their junior season. Sark would love that to be the case here. And so I thought Texas and Diabell were in a great spot before this weekend. It's fantastic now for those guys.
Yeah, and he has said that he wants to make a decision in January. I think we're about 5 weeks away from the number 4 quarterback in that class coming off the board. Miami, a major player in that one as well. Let's move on. Edge Javian Hilson. This is big news. He's the number 4 ranked edge in the country, inside the top 50 overall. Now, he's already flipped his commitment once, and that was in January. He went from Bama to FSU, but he's been flirting with Alabama. Yes, he could actually flip back to Alabama. Just scheduled a Texas official visit, though, so this should kind of shake things up. He'll be there on June 7th this coming weekend. Then he'll go to UCF. Then he'll go to FSU in 2 weeks. We don't know when he really plans on shutting this thing down, but what are you hearing about Texas and where they're at heading into this big official visit next week?
They really like him. They really want him. Listen, they've already got Lance Jackson in the boat, 6'5", 270 pounds. We got to see him at the On3 Elite Series in Nashville. He looks fantastic. He looks wonderful. And they love Marco Jones, the California edge as well. And the number is going to be 2 or 3 for edge in this class. If you can get a Hilson in this group after signing a Colin Simmons,
right,
after snagging a Trey Moore in the portal, edge recruiting is only going to go up. And so Texas is very interested. I think once he gets to Austin, then we can have a clearer picture of what he's wanting to do. Like, those out-of-state kids, you always got to be kind of – I generally don't go too much until they get on campus. And for a kid that's flip-flopped a little bit, you're watching. But Texas is in the mix. Steve Wiltfong posted an updated Inside Texas. Please go check that out. And he's a kid that you got to watch. Listen, they want 2 really good edge guys in this class. And I think they feel like they're in a good spot with Marco Jones. They're battling Michigan. They're battling a handful of other places. But they love the foundation with Lance Jackson. And Hilson's a guy that has a ton of upside, Josh, as you know. So any chance they get, if they get him on campus and this thing starts getting real, it should be a lot of fun in a couple months.
I know. He's got incredible combination of size and athleticism, one of the best edge rushers in the country. Now let's talk about Texas offering now we've talked a lot about SMU in these Texas segments, but it's always been Keelan Russell. But this weekend, Texas offers SMU safety commit Nathan Tillman. He's from Mansfield, Texas. What are we hearing? Is this a priority target that they're trying to flip?
This is a guy this is what you call one of your later senior evaluations. But this kid, give SMU credit for being early on this guy.
Yeah.
I actually went to Timberview this spring to go see Dylan Battle, the defensive tackle that Texas was in the mix, early on. Until I met Tillman coming and going. And we sat there and chatted for 5 or 10 minutes before I saw Dylan. And so I got to know him a little bit and really didn't know what direction that recruitment was going to go. He hadn't really heard from Texas. All of a sudden, Blake Gideon and Terry Joseph and PK are in the mix, and he's got an offer. And let me tell you something, that really got his attention. I got to catch up with him on Saturday. He wasn't one of the visitors to Austin this weekend. He got that offer that morning, but I'd caught up with him before the camp actually started. And, he's thrilled. He's excited. He says what most kids in state say when they get a Texas offer. It means a lot, especially with the way that program is climbing and that trajectory. He's a legit 6'1", 180 pounds. And he's a guy that'll go sideline to sideline. He's got some wiry, traits that definitely translate at the next level. And so I think you have to tip your cap to SMU for a really good early eval. I think Texas is being judicious with these 2025 offers at this point. If they see guys in that late senior eval stage, they're going to make a jump for it. I think Tillman's a guy that they're going to make a push for. They want to bring 2 safeties in this class. I think they look outstanding for Fort Bend Hightower's Cade Phillips, but they want another one. And we don't know what Jonah Williams is going to do. He was on an official to USC this weekend. He'll see A&M. He's going to see Oklahoma. So I think this is Texas kind of looking at the big board and trying to finalize who they're going to really push for throughout the rest of this summer.
All right, Texas fans, let's talk about it. Do you think Dia Bell is your 2026 quarterback? What about the 2 flips, Javian Hilson and Nathan Tillman? Can the Horns get it done? Let me know. Comment section below. Big visit weekend in Columbus, and we got a lot to talk about. And just a few moments ago, major prediction in favor of a recruit that had been trending to Georgia. But now the Buckeyes look like they're in a good spot. Also, number 1 wide receiver DeCorian Moore was on campus this weekend. Like I said, we got a lot to cover. But first, hit subscribe to the best recruiting channel on YouTube, On3 Recruits. All right, I appreciate it. Let's bring on Matt Parker from our Letterman Row site. Busy weekend over on the site. DeCorian Moore, Riley Pettijohn, Vernell Brown, all on campus. But first, moments ago, Steve Wiltfong dropped a pick in for the Buckeyes. 4-star running back Bo Jackson, the number 4 ranked athlete in America, top 100, number 73 overall. We had been talking about him 2 weeks ago because he went to that UGA scavenger hunt, and it sounded really good for the Dogs. Did Ohio State take back the momentum from UGA?
Well, you had mentioned this in your preview, Josh, and all roads lead home, and Ohio State gets Bo Jackson back on campus for the first time since about mid-March, I do believe. Yeah. And this visit was so critical for Ohio State because it seems like with the majority of its in-state guys that it's been really targeting in the last, couple of years, honestly. It always seems like right before official visit season starts that there's some other school that's just going to swoop in, take a top Ohio prospect out of state, and then these guys visit Ohio State and they are reminded exactly why the best players in Ohio stay in Ohio. This weekend was another reminder of that for Bo Jackson, the 4-star running back out of Cleveland, Ohio, Villa Angela, St. Joseph High School. Spent a lot of time with head coach Ryan Day, who you and I have talked about this multiple times, is so pivotal in this recruitment because once Tony Alford, the former running backs coach, left for Michigan, and Ohio State had no running back coach for about 4 weeks or so, there was just that gap. But recruiting doesn't stop for anybody, especially for Ohio State. And so Ryan Day took over that recruitment as well as Jordan Davison, the 4-star running back out of Mater Dei in California. And just having the head coach be for 4 weeks the lead recruiter for anybody is going to be a very, very big deal. Then they bring in Carlos Laughlin, who Bo Jackson had a relationship with when Laughlin was at Oregon. And it was just kind of the perfect marriage. And then Jackson gets on campus this weekend. And once again, is just reminded of exactly why the best in Ohio stay in Ohio. So to answer your question, yeah, I think Ohio State has absolutely taken the momentum and any kind of, gain that Georgia had. I remember seeing some of the fellas at Dogs HQ posting stuff, maybe thinking that Bo Jackson was going to commit to Georgia when he visited for the scavenger hunt. And, here we are, uncommitted, just visited to Ohio State, and we had a Fong bomb on the Buckeyes. So things are looking up here in Columbus for Bo Jackson.
Yeah, and we'll have the Wiltfong whip around tomorrow. Going to ask Steve about that prediction for Ohio State. But Ohio State fans were not very happy when it looked like Bo Jackson was trending out of state. But, just give Carlos Laughlin a little bit of time, and he'll do his work. Now, let's talk about another prospect that maybe Ohio State has some work to do. Number 1 wide receiver, DeCorian Moore. He was just in Nashville with us for the On3 Elite Series, and it sounded really good for the Horns, but we know visits are pivotal, and this weekend he was in Columbus. What are you hearing coming out of this one?
Well, talking to some folks in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Sunday about this recruitment, it's the number 1 wide receiver in the country, and the best recruiter of that position coaches at Ohio State. Buckeyes have a lot of confidence with where it stands when it comes to the recruitment of DeCorian Moore. You mentioned that he was in Nashville for the On3 Elite Series, and he was joined by Devin Sanchez, the 5-star plus cornerback who's committed to Ohio State. Sanchez followed Moore from Nashville to Columbus and actually spent a couple of days in Columbus this weekend after being at the Elite Series, and he has just been an instrumental peer recruiter as it relates to that recruitment. I still think Ohio State is going to have just maybe a little bit of work to do to close out this recruitment, but I definitely think and know that Ohio State needs to be talked about and taken seriously in this recruitment. And it feels kind of silly to say Ohio State isn't being taken seriously in a recruitment for, the country's best wide receiver prospect. But there is a lot of chatter about Texas. There's a lot of chatter about Oregon. Seemed like he kind of surprised everybody by saying that he was taking the official visit to LSU this upcoming weekend. But my advice to you and to anyone else that wants it, don't count out Brian Hartline. That's all I've got there.
I'm not counting out Hartline. I agree with you. We'll see what happens here. DeCorian Moore set to take a couple more official visits, and then he's going to wrap this thing up before the end of summer. Another borderline 5-star prospect, Riley Pettijohn, one of the best linebackers in America. Is he another Texas lean that Ohio State has to work on?
I would say he is a Texas lean at this current juncture. There's, I think, about 3 or 4 RPMs right now on Pettijohn to ultimately stay in state and sign with the Longhorns, commit to the Longhorns as well. But just talking with a couple of people at Ohio State, there's a quiet confidence about the Buckeyes in this recruitment. And, Letter Monroe is going to have some more about that official visit coming out on Monday. So be sure to give that a look and just have the heads up there. But the buzz coming out of Columbus, at least from the Ohio State side, is that visit went as well as it could have. Which, I mean, if that was the case, he'd probably be committed to Ohio State right now. But the point remains is that his family, their eyes were opened up to Ohio State and everything that the program has to offer on and off the field. Pettijohn and his family, they visited Ohio State March 30th for the Buckeye Student Appreciation Day, which is very big on a very big spring get together for recruits and Ohio State spring ball and things like that. So Ohio State got the first crack at official visits for Pettijohn. I believe he heads to USC next week, and then he goes to Texas and Texas A&M, another summertime July decision here. But the Buckeyes have set the pace as far as official visits go, and now it's just kind of, all right, wait and see.
All right. Now, another important prospect on campus was wide receiver Vernell Brown, and it feels like it's Ohio State versus the state of Florida for this one. We're used to these Ohio State-Miami battles, but they also got to deal with UF and FSU for Vernell Brown, and maybe it's Ohio State versus FSU for Vernell Brown. I'm not exactly sure. He's going to take some visits in state after this one, but what are you hearing about Vernell Brown and Ohio State after this?
Well, you mentioned it, Josh. It's Ohio State versus someone else, and that someone else always changes, but the constant is Ohio State in this recruitment. Point. I placed a prediction in the On3 recruiting prediction machine back in April, I want to say it was, on Vernell Brown to go to Ohio State. And coming out of this weekend, I'm still going to stand by that prediction. I know a lot of people are starting to give credence to Florida State, to Florida, where he is a legacy, a two-time legacy, as a matter of fact. Both his grandfather and his father played for the Gators. But there's just a pull about Ohio State for Vernell Brown to kind of do his own thing. You can't discount the fact that he is a South Florida Express member, and Ohio State just seemingly gets whoever they want from South Florida Express at this point. And this official visit was very big in terms of showing the rest of his family that Ohio State can be a place where he can be comfortable, where he can grow as a student, as an athlete, as a, just as a human being in general, on and off the field. And, as long as the family is comfortable, I still stand by my prediction that Ohio State is ultimately, in the end, going to get Vernell Brown. But like everything, like any other recruitment, it's going to have to withstand a couple of official visits here, since this is just the first weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I like you standing on business there with Vernell Brown, but we will see because he's got some big official visits coming up. But he'll be ready to make a decision in July or August. So big recruitment there with Vernell Brown III. Now, we only scratched the surface. You guys can go to Letter Monroe. There's a whole lot more from this weekend on the site. Matt Parker, appreciate you taking some time out and dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Appreciate it.